Hello, and thank you for tuning in to J. Kerner for Astrology. Today is Saturday, March 25th, and I wanted to pop on and talk to you a little bit about Mars's ingress into the sign of Cancer after a very long 7-month stay through the sign of Gemini. Saturday, March 25th, 2023, until May 20th, 2023, Mars, our planet of motivation, drive, and energy, will be in the sign of Cancer. Be focused on matters of the home and family. Mars is the planetary ruler for Aries, and it's in its sign of exaltation when it's in Capricorn, which is in a challenging opposition to the sign of Cancer, where Mars will be the next 2 months. This is considered its fall, meaning that Mars is unable to fully express itself in the sign of Cancer. It has trouble asserting itself and expressing itself to its fullest capacity. That Mars is weakened and has trouble fully expressing itself and its assertion in the sign of Cancer. While Mars is a masculine, yang, or pursuing energy, Cancer is ruled by the moon. It's a feminine, yin, or receptive energy. Because Cancer is ruled by the moon, which undergoes constant change as it changes shape through phase and only visits each sign once per month, changing every 2.5 days. It's a cardinal water sign associated with home, family, ancestry, and generational karma. So when Mars, our planet of motivation and drive, is in the watery sign of Cancer that's ruled by the moon, it means that our motivation and drive is subject to the whims of our mood and the moon and its many phases. It means that Mars will be answering to the moon and the moon's energy the next 2 months. So pay attention to the sign the moon is in, along with your own moon sign, and how these energies interplay together to best work with the energy. Currently, we're in Aries season, and Aries is ruled by Mars. So our sun and our focus, also where we have Mercury, our conscious logical minds, and Jupiter, our expansion and wisdom, and Chiron, our soul wound, are all answering to Mars right now, which is answering to the moon. Your emotions and your emotional regulation are important now more than ever, as your very motivation and drive will depend upon it. During Mars's 2-month stay in the sign of Cancer, we'll be focused primarily on family and home matters, and also matters of security, securing both the home and emotional security. We will be emotionally driven, and our motivation will be directly tied to our emotions. Focused on working together immediately within our family units and our close friends and our close community, especially regarding things like sharing resources. What we do will be primarily focused on providing for said loved ones. During Mars's 2-month visit through the sign of Cancer, we'll be primarily focused on family and home matters, security, both securing the home and the homeland, and emotional security and emotional regulation. Our motivation and drive will be directly tied to the moon, our emotional and intuitive nature. So we will be at the whims of our emotions and feelings. It's important to not let those emotions drive you by regulating them. This will be an important time for anyone who's been avoiding or otherwise running away from their emotions or suppressing them. These emotions do have a way of coming back up so that we face them, especially when we avoid and suppress them. Emotionally driven, and we will be challenged to actively work through the emotions that arise. Since Mars rules our motivation and drive, this can also indicate that we'll be focused on working to provide for and provide security for our loved ones, ourselves, and even our neighbors, as we work together and share resources and food during these troubling times. Here are some things to look out for while Mars is in Cancer. Most importantly, watch out for mood swings or waiting until you feel like it. This is a trap. I have my natal Mars in Gemini, and this is something I've had to learn throughout my life, and my motivation is very much tied to my mood because it is conjunct my moon. Natal Mars in Cancer in the 4th house, or your Mars conjunct your moon Drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear more from you, especially regarding your feedback for this video and any other insights that you can add. It is thanks to clients and people like you who have lent me their energy that have allowed me to learn from the energies of other people. I have my natal Mars in Gemini, so I know that energy particularly well. But learning about Mars in Cancer comes from beautiful people like you. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for liking. Thank you for commenting. And thank you for subscribing so that I can continue to create astrological-based content. Watch out for mood swings, passive aggression, waiting until you feel like it. This is a trap. I have my Mars in Gemini, and I've had to learn in this life that if you wait until you feel like it, you might be waiting forever. There's a lot of power in just doing it, channeling that Aries energy. Just do it. Action creates momentum, and once you're moving, bodies in motion tend to stay in motion. Since Mars and Aries energy tend to be very assertive, sometimes even aggressive, Mars, when it's weakened in Cancer, can struggle with being direct. So watch for being more indirect, and definitely watch out for things like passive aggression, which would indicate an imbalance of this energy or taking it a bit too far. Also watch out for being overly defensive. As our emotions rise to the surface, we may find ourselves being more reactive. Remember to use the tools in your tool belt. I carry this shift with me. I wear it as a necklace with my moonstone, Gemini moon sign, moonstone. Even sitting in traffic, feeling that rise of frustration come up as you're waiting and that impatience starts to build up. This shift, which is used in Japanese meditation to time the exhale, helps me slow down. Find tools in your tool belt that help bring you back to center, that keep you present and focused on the here and now. That's all that exists. Our next full moon in Libra, just 1 month away, which will be highlighting the me versus we Libra-Aries axis and also jump-starting into our nodal switch, our next 18-month karmic cycle in July, which will be focused on South Node in Libra, shedding things like codependency and people-pleasing, and North Node in Aries, collectively moving towards autonomy, independence, and personal power. This will be highlighted in our next full moon, and it'll be the focus from July 2023 until January of 2025. Watch out for increased drama in one-on-one relationships coming up the next 2 months. This will be spotlighted in our next 18-month cycle beginning in July, but really we're kickstarting it with our next full moon, April 6th. Watch out for drama in one-on-one relationships. Watch out for imbalances of me versus we, and areas where you can create more harmony. Not so far as to become codependent or completely lose your own identity while trying to please other people. That would be an imbalance of Libra. Find the balance between Libra's other focus and Aries' self-focused, so that you're neither selfish, narcissistic, nor completely identityless. Unfortunate themes we may see come up while Mars is in Cancer the next 2 months. We may see more domestic abuse. Know the signs of it and watch out for it so you can report and help out your neighbors. The theme we'll be exploring while Mars is in Cancer the next 2 months is ways that we help others versus enable them. Are we supporting them in their journey where they're trying to give up substances? Or are we saying we're supporting them while we're rolling them a joint and passing them a lighter? Find where you're enabling, find the boundaries. Help only those who are receptive to your help. Help only those who seek it. Otherwise, it's falling on deaf ears. They're either not listening or they're just not ready for it. But one day they will be. Since Mars is our planet of aggression and war, we may also see some border disputes and issues with neighbors. This seems to be a recurring theme whenever Mars is in Cancer. neighbor disputes, parking disputes, anything of the kind. We could extend Cancer to include the homeland of the country, wherever you're tuning in from, the country where you reside in. So you may see themes. I'm in the Philadelphia area of Pennsylvania in the United States, and what we're seeing in this country is definitely a border crisis. It's definitely a situation that where I am in Philadelphia, I don't see on a daily basis. At least I didn't, but we're seeing it more and more. We're seeing what the border states have been dealing with for years, and we're also seeing a humanitarian crisis at the same hands. How do we support and take care of all these people and take care of our own people who are already here, but also take in those who are in need of being saved? There seems to be a major focus on water with Mars in Cancer, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, the South Node in Scorpio. We've seen things in recent history involving chemical explosions and chemical leaks and chemicals getting into waterways that are then getting into the water that we drink and getting into our bodies and having effects that affect us and affect our children and affect our communities for years to come. So I do see water coming up to the forefront, and maybe we'll be resolving our water quality. Maybe we'll be seeing some more wild weather involving more flooding and atmospheric rivers, which I had never heard of until this year, and it seems like Los Angeles just got hit by 12 of them, including a tornado. I also noticed North Korea in the news this week with their tsunami-causing torpedo. That is certainly war and water related. Hopefully that doesn't get launched. And with Mars involving action and athleticism and movement and adventure and impulsivity, it also comes with accidents. So we may see an increase of accidents on the waterway. So as you're getting out of the house, as you're finding balance between spending time at home with that family and recharging your batteries, but also getting out and enjoying nature for grounding and enjoying life, just have your wits about you. Nothing to be afraid of. Just watch your surroundings. All right, health-wise, since Mars rules the head, the face, the adrenals, the blood, the arteries, and surgeries and inflammation, anything sharp, and Cancer rules the stomach, the breasts, the chest, the digestive system. It relates to depression, clinging too much to the past, struggling to let it go, which can bring it down instead of focusing on the here and now. Tying all of those things together, the moon changing rapidly and Mars being subject to those rapid changes, it might affect our sleep, it might affect our insomnia. Just notice all of these things. Notice your gut, notice your body and what it's telling you. I have 6 autoimmune diseases, and you probably wouldn't be able to guess it from looking at me. I keep them in remission. They've been in remission for 2 years now, thanks to a very strict elimination diet and a commitment and dedication to my lifestyle. I started that journey by listening to my body. There came a point in time where I went from eating pizza and drinking beer and champagne and mimosas with my friends every Sunday in my 20s to not being able to digest anything. I couldn't drink beer. I couldn't eat popcorn anymore. And I didn't know what was wrong with me, but I didn't stop until I figured it out. And my body told me every step of the way what it wanted more of and what it didn't want more of. And your body will do that too. This would be a really good opportunity to increase your intuition. You could practice what I just talked about. It's called intuitive eating. You could practice that on your own and grow your own mind-body connection within yourself. And then you wouldn't need to come and rely on people on YouTube because you'll be able to guide yourself. Cancer also rules the hormones. This is kind of funny timing. I prepared for this just before the video, and the past few days I've intuitively felt that it's time to give up coffee again. I have Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, which is highly correlated with insulin sensitivity and my adrenals, which I have put into adrenal fatigue, into burnout at least 3 times in my short life so far. And I have learned that I have a very sensitive relationship with stimulants of all kinds, but especially caffeine. 2 cups of coffee and I'm jittery and weird. It's not productive for me. And that is just a surface level reaction. What's happening inside my body is far more insidious, as with each caffeinated beverage comes an increase of testosterone and cortisol, which are already elevated, contributing to things like androgenic alopecia and other side effects of having polycystic ovarian syndrome. So as you can see, these are cyclical relationships that we can get rid of. So part of a detox to myself, I'm detoxing from several things right now, and we'll get into Mars in Cancer and what detoxes might be good for you a little bit later on. While Mars was in Gemini, which was for 7 months from August 2022 until March 25th, 2023, Gemini had a long retrograde, which is why it was there for so long. It normally doesn't spend that many months in a sign. It's normally closer to 2 or 3, 2.5. But it had a very long retrograde. We explored themes of manipulation of media and data. We saw a lot of propaganda. We saw themes of not looking before we leap, impulsivity, being spread out, leading to burnout as we're trying to stay afloat in a very troublesome economy, working harder and harder, picking up side hustles here and multiple jobs here. It wasn't too long ago I was working full-time and had 2 side hustles, and it's no wonder that I burn out. I've learned not to do that. We've bitten off more than we can chew, which has led us to overpromising and underdelivering. This is very much a Mars in Gemini theme. Mars in Gemini gets distracted by shiny objects. Mars in Gemini has trouble focusing and seeing one task through to completion because it gets distracted by shiny objects. Gemini energy, you'll probably pick up on a lot of it from myself. I have my natal moon and Mars there. But Gemini energy is Gemini is a mutable air sign. It has everything to do with communication and the dissemination of knowledge. It's versatile, adaptable, it's curious, it's intelligent, it's intellectual, and it's highly sociable. It's a master networker because it loves talking to people. It loves meeting new people, interacting with new people, sharing stories, and sharing energy. All right, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the aspects that we'll see coming up into play. So right away, we see Mars in Cancer forming a sextile to the North Node in Taurus, which is in conjunct with Venus right now in Taurus, and Venus is the planetary ruler of Taurus, so it's answering to Venus, and this makes this really strong. So the sextile is a harmonious and very beneficial alignment, so we have an alignment of our fated events affecting what we love and value, so a bit of a revolution to what we define to be successful for ourselves, because Venus very much has to do with building our own self-worth and our own self-esteem and the work that we do to fill our cups. It's affecting and testing our self-confidence and self-esteem, but this harmonious aspect is bringing in more stability. This would be a good time to ground down through service or the work that you do that helps others. The beginning of Mars in Cancer, so especially from March 23rd to March 30th or so, Mars will be in trine to Saturn in Pisces and the South Node in Scorpio, which is incredibly beneficial and healing on multiple levels. When planetary bodies are trine one another, they're forming a 120-degree angle. They're in the same element, meaning that they're able to flow harmoniously together. Saturn in Pisces and the South Node in Scorpio, we are actively clearing things out, and these planetary bodies are helping us do it. We're collectively shedding attachments to the past that keep us small or hold us back. Any manipulation victim playing, or over-identification with a victim identity. Right after the next full moon, which is April 5th or April 6th, depending on where you are in the world, from April 8th until April 23rd, we will have Mars in Cancer forming a harmonious sextile to Mercury in Taurus. And this will be right as Mercury retrograde begins on April 21st through the sign of Taurus. We had a Mercury retrograde at the beginning of the year through the sign of Capricorn, which also challenged us, our logical, conscious minds, Mercury, to reconfigure what we define to be successful and the work that we do and how it relates to being successful. Now that it's in Taurus, we will have a chance to reflect upon the work we do, Venus, and what we love and value, Venus ruling Taurus. We'll be focused on our resources. Taurus energy is an earth sign, and it's all about being resourceful. So Taurus energy rules resources, be them money or natural resources like oil that give us power. We'll be focused on our resources, our food, and if we have enough of it. We're experiencing a fundamental shift in values. We are shifting away from materialism and toward sovereignty and social inclusion. We'll also be heavily focused on maintaining peace, harmony, and balance amid chaos. On April 27th, Mars in Cancer will be in a square working against Chiron in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. We may see domestic abuse. This may be a tough day. Domestic abuse, home and family triggers that bring up those emotions that we've been repressing that come up to the surface so that we're forced to face them. Watch out for that, especially on the 27th. We might experience conflict with our primary nurturer. Cancer energy has to do with mother or nurturer. I come from a diverse family background, so I like to also include those who might come from diverse family backgrounds, and I refer to mother as primary nurturer because she might not have been a woman and she might not have been a mom. She might not have even been present. With Chiron and Aries ruling the head, the adrenals, the arteries, the sinuses, we may see issues with that, especially around this day, and that is peak allergy season for myself. Concussions, watch out for accidents that might lead to head injury and concussions. Be very careful. Especially with Saturn and Pisces, I could see a connection here with using substances under the influence of Saturn and Pisces, those drugs, alcohol. I had an employee in the past who had to miss, it was almost, I think, a month and a half of work because she was drinking in the shower. She was struggling through an alcohol addiction at the time, and she was drinking in the shower. And she slipped and she fell on her face. And she broke her face. So she not only had a concussion, she broke her face. I could see things like that happening with Chiron and Aries forming a square to Mars in Cancer with Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. 29th, 2023, Mars in Cancer will be forming a sextile, so working harmoniously together with Uranus in Taurus. But Uranus in Taurus and Mars in Cancer, neither of them are comfortable there. Uranus is the planetary ruler for Aquarius energy, and it's our planet of unexpected change and events. Anyone who has strong Aquarian energy probably has a lot of unexpected events in their life. It builds character, and you know what it does, Aquarius? It teaches us detachment. It teaches us to not get too attached to anything because you never know when it'll be gone. We can expect, with Taurus affecting money, the economy, and our natural resources, and Uranus bringing unexpected events to those, and Pluto being in 0 degrees of Aquarius at this time, right before it starts its retrograde, I don't know, watch out for accidents involving water and electricity. Double check. Make sure things aren't plugged in, especially if you're around water. We'll leave that there. We'll see what happens. On May 15th, toward the end of the Mars in Cancer transit, it goes into Leo on May 20th. It'll form a trine to Neptune in Pisces, which is another beautifully healing, harmonious aspect, being in the same element, this element of water. Maybe it'll be warm enough where I live to go out to a body of water at this point, but Cancer rules freshwater, river, lakes, that eventually lead to Pisces, oceans and seas. So while Mars, this would be a great time to go get yourself in some water. We'll be becoming more active with our faith and our spirituality with Mars there. And then from May 15th until May 20th and then beyond, when Mars goes into Leo, especially at the early degrees, Mars will be in opposition to Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Pluto and Mars in opposition brings trouble. Those are our delivers of karma, and when they're not working together, when they're working against each other, it's not good. We may see more war activity, unfortunately. We may see more combative energy, and when we break that down, Mars and Leo being all about the self and self-expression and leadership and heart-centered leadership and creative self-expression, and Aquarius being about the people and the everyman as part of a collective, it's going to be the individual against the people. It'll be a dramatic time. Here's some pointers for how to better work with the energy, now that you know it's coming. So first and foremost, remember how we said Mars is in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon? The first, number one, most important thing you can do is just keep an eye on what sign the moon is in and what phase it's in. You might start to notice patterns. That's how my journey started. It started with tracking my periods and tracking my cycles, and I noticed that I always get my period a few days before the new moon. And once with Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, which is characterized by imbalanced menstrual cycles, which I suffered from for a very long time until I found answers through diet and exercise, through lifestyle changes. Basically, I got rid of foods that my body didn't like, that they found inflammatory. That my body found inflammatory. Number one recommendation would be to check what sign and phase the moon is in the next 2 months. Mars is in the sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, meaning it'll be answering to the moon. And we know how fickle the moon is. The moon affects a lot of things. It affects far more than the oceans and tides. Our bodies are mostly water, which is why someone like me might have their menstrual cycle synced with the new moon. My next recommendation, hydrate. Whenever we have a lot of water energy, really in general, I just recommend hydrating. Since Mars is in the sign of Cancer, which is definitely more of a homebody sign, I would consider Cancer and Taurus to be our 2 biggest homebodies. Love you guys, but come on, come out every once in a while. You may want to spend more time at home these next 2 months, especially if you have pets, loved ones, family and friends that you're close with. This would be a really good time to spend time with them and focus on them. But I would watch for an imbalance here as well, especially my Taurus, Cancer, and Aquarian friends. If you have strong energies there, watch for alienation and self-isolation. That would be an indication that you've taken this energy a little too far. My next recommendation for you is to get out in nature. Nature has an amazing grounding effect. So especially visit some fresh water or salt water or any water that you can. As you're exercising, especially if you're someone who's looking to change up their exercise routine, this would be a really good opportunity to find an area where you can go swim some laps. Swimming is wonderful. Swimming is a wonderful form of exercise where you can work out all of your muscles at the same time. Recommend hot baths. Bonus points if you use Epsom salt. This would be a really good time, especially with Saturn in Pisces, to take a break from any vices and explore a detox. March historically, especially in ancient Chinese medicine, and you'll see it in a lot of religions and religious practices, but it's a time of detoxification because it's when our liver and kidneys and our detoxification process is considered the most active. Some things that I like to use for detoxification include aloe, lemon, ginger, rosemary, parsley, and dandelion. If you're like me wanting to take a break from coffee and caffeine and stimulants, Dandelion root tea is a really good alternative. Do watch out if you have a cool constitution like I do by Mars in Cancer. The short answer, everyone. You all have Mars in your chart, and you all have Cancer in your chart. It's up to you to figure out what you have where. Everyone will be affected. But who will be most affected? Anyone with a Cancer stellium, that would be 3 or more placements within the sign of Cancer or the 4th house. I have both. I am a Cancer midheaven. Surprise! Your sun, your moon, your rising, any of the personal planets, but especially Mars. If you have your natal Mars in Cancer, congratulations, you're having a Mars return. Drop some comments below and let me know how that's going. Other energies that will feel this more than others, if you have an Aries or Scorpio rising, Mars is your chart and planetary ruler, so you will feel this more than the average individual. Anyone who has personal planets in a cardinal sign. So we've already covered Cancer. The other cardinal signs include Aries, Libra, and Capricorn. These will be forming a challenging square or opposition to Cancer, depending on where they're located. Aries and Libra are opposite one another, so they will be forming a square. Capricorn, opposite Cancer, Capricorn will be forming an opposition. Especially Libra and Capricorn and Aries rising. You will notice this more than the average individual. I am a Libra rising. I am here for the journey with you. Libras. We're a little lucky here because Mars will be in our 10th house, Libra rising. Mars will be in the 10th house. Mars is exalted in the 10th house home to Capricorn. Remember, it's exalted in Capricorn. It gets to focus all that energy and work, work, work. And more work leads to more money. It's a pretty beautiful harmony there. But Libra, our next full moon is in our sign. And our nodal axis, our south node, is going to be going through the sign of Libra. So Libra, you are going to be in the spotlight in the near future along with Aries. Get ready. That transition of the nodal axis begins in July, and it's an 18-month cycle, so it'll be from July to January.